What? Hello there and welcome back to the Geary Cast. We are returning from our summer of celebration. Not often you get to spend the summer by the pool toasting a promotion, but we've all done it. Which is great. I'm Nick Bell. You're listening to the Geary Cast on the Sports Social Podcast Network, and I'm joined for a lovely Segunda season preview by Luke Chambers and Alex Ashmore. How are you guys doing?
Oh, it feels good to say that. Segunda.
It feels strange to say that.
Yeah, it's got a good ring to it, hasn't it?
But we're back, baby. We are back.
I should say this is new for me, and I assume Luke as well. And, well, new for all of us, really. But also, if you're watching on YouTube, a new intro. I love it.
Yes, new everything. We've got shiny whistles and bells and all sorts of stuff now. If you've been keeping an eye on the social medias, we've got new logo, new branding. We've had a bit of a wash, haven't we? It's nice to get dressed up for the Spanish Segunda, isn't it? So, yeah, we are very much back. And in this episode, we're going to go sort of like what our season we think is going to be, who are the runners and riders, who we should keep an eye out for, what are our predictions for Malaga. But if you're new to the Geary Cast, because it's been brought to my attention that apparently we've got like a few thousand extra followers, like mental. We are a Malaga podcast for all the Gearys out there. We do 2 podcasts a week, a lovely review of the game at the weekend, a lovely preview at the other end of the week for the game upcoming. We do live streams. We have brilliant stuff on social media. We've also launched Geary Stories as well, which is a brand new like storytelling podcast. So there's plenty for you here. So stick with us as we go up with Malaga and follow them on this journey in Segunda next year. But lads, are you excited? Are you as excited as I am?
So excited. It's been too long. I don't know about you guys. I love international football. I don't want to talk about the Euros, but I love the feeling of it, but it's just nothing quite the same as club football, is there?
It's not football, is it? I mean, we normally get along. We're all Malaga. After this summer with the Euros, we've had the Scottish hating the English. The Spanish obviously trumped us in the final, and just don't feel like we're a family. We should all be getting along, and nothing brings you together more than this club.
No, absolutely. And I suppose the best ask very quickly, how have your summers been? You've been both very busy. I think we know Chris has been really busy buying a house and decorating a swimming pool. Matt's been walking here, there, and not walking this time, actually. He's been training, hasn't he? But he's been in Portugal and Wales and Spain. And yeah, what about you boys?
Well, I don't know if anybody knows, but I've been on holiday.
You've been on holiday, Luke?
I don't know if anybody's seen anything on socials, but yeah, obviously.
Did you?
2 weeks down on the 2 weeks down on the Costa del Paradise, soaking up the Spanish sunshine. I even chucked 2 little cheeky trips into La Rosaleda to buy the new gear and get my my membership, which I know there's quite a few of the GearyCast listeners trying to get involved with that, and I would fully recommend trying to. But yeah, just a fantastic summer, mate. How's yours been?
I think that teak colouring, I just assumed it was Donny Weather that did that to him, but a lovely tan. What about you, Alex? What have you been doing yourself? Any more stints on African television? I believe you are now a full-time. I've seen you with your dicky bow tie. Yes. Back for another season after the launch of your channel this summer. It's full-time, isn't it?
So, yeah, we finished with the Euros, had 2 weeks off. Well, it wasn't quite game over when the Euros finished. We still had the Mbappe presentation to deal with, which was quite it was madness, really. We had, at one point, 1 million people watching. It was just unbelievable. So, yeah, that was good fun. And then had 2 weeks off, came down to Marbella for a week. And, yeah, back to it now as the season officially, well, it's already started for some leagues, but officially all the big leagues start next weekend. So we're sort of back into the full swing of it.
Nick, I think we should address to any new listeners and followers that we don't all work for Real Madrid TV. It's just one lucky guy down there. Me and Nick are just normal people.
Yeah, we've just been grafted, haven't we, Luke? And Alex has been swanning on the television with his bow tie on. But
now, I must say, I sent this message to Nick. Gearycast is back in the Instagram and Twitter bios.
Yes. Now we know we're back. We're back
now
there.
To rep. Now we're back in Segunda. He was ashamed of Primera, but no. I'm glad to hear you guys have had a lot of fun. And I tell you who has been having a lot of fun recently: Malaga Club of Football. You see how I turned that back round again?
Very well.
So certainly on the old money front, and I'm just, for those not watching on YouTube, I'm holding up the universal sign for cash. Not only have Malaga sold a ridiculous amounts of beautiful football shirts, as we can see Luke is wearing the away one or the third one now, but the home shirt has surpassed 5,500 sales, which is just immense, but to be expected because it's beautiful. But we've also, Luke, managed to sell the most season tickets Malaga have ever sold. Now, this is a club that was in the Champions League not too long ago. So, how have we done this? How have we done this?
I think the winning mentality brings a lot of fans back in. We know that the Malaguistas have always stayed loyal to the club, but for the last effectively 10 years, we've been on a downward spiral. A season where you're competitive and you're winning games brings everybody together. And we've all been in La Rosaleda last season, and the atmosphere, the way the people speak about the club, we're just on a real high. And these numbers are absolutely crazy. I was just looking at a stat then. So we have actually sold 26,500, which is the maximum you are allowed. So we could sell more if we was allowed to. There is a waiting list of 4,500 fans, I believe, which there's teams in this league who haven't even sold 4,500 season tickets in the whole. Malaga's got a waiting list as a newly promoted club. So if you put numbers together, so that's 33,000 season tickets. We have an extended stadium coming in seasons to come at 45,000. If everything goes to plan, we could be selling 75% of that stadium with season tickets. It is crazy.
Easy money, Alex, isn't it? It's easy money. And, often we say, or often it's been said that Malaga is a second club in a one-club town, but really, Malaguistas are coming out in their droves, aren't they? And, this is just phenomenal. I don't know if we've managed to eclipse Depor yet, but, to be in the top two, really shows the strength of Malaga going into this season, doesn't it?
I think, it's brilliant to see. And obviously we saw glimpses of it last year, and, the fans were coming in their droves last season. And this was third division Spanish football. And I think almost that togetherness and, like Luke said, the winning feeling that we got back that we haven't had in a while. I think, for me, the last successful season before that was in 2018-19, which is a long time ago when we, missed out on the playoffs back to promotion back to La Liga. So, to have that feeling back in the club, I think it no doubt it will bring people back who maybe haven't come for a couple of years, but it's good. And, here's to many sold out Rosaleda crowds this season.
It is. The feel-good factor is back, and I'm worried about even getting a ticket now. Never mind trying to plot when I can actually go to games around the mysterious magic 8-ball, which is La Liga fixture scheduling, because that's going to be fun. I suppose quickly before we get into the season preview, just a quick training update. I've not seen too much, but obviously we've got a couple of boys who were out injured at the back end of last season, who were on the cusp of returning, Luke. Haitam and Ramon back on the grass.
They certainly are. Certainly are, mate. The only current absent in total. Ramon's only doing light work at the moment. Moose is still very much unavailable. But like you've just said, Haitam nearly back to full capacity training, which, come on, guys, if we've got a fit Haitam, that's like a new transfer as it is. In terms of the actual training, the team are currently halfway through a 5-day training camp in Estepona. They've been doing double sessions, and like we've just been talking about off air, the heat down at the Costa Cell is insane. So I gather that our boys are going to be very, very fit, but it's also a good team bonding time. They're together for 5 days constantly, and all this ahead of the final friendly against Cordoba on Saturday.
Yes, down in La Linea, I believe it is, as well, which should be quite fun. Good to test yourself against fellow opposition, and Cordoba are having I had a little sneak peek before, actually. Cordoba having a nice little summer of transfers, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Obviously, one player previously of this parish, which we'll come on to later. In terms of Malaga's business, guys, 4 in the door so far. Not the most amount of players that has been signed in this league, but obviously we've had Alex Pastor come in from Andorra, Rocco Batorinha from Gil Vicente, but he was on loan at Racing de Santander last season. Luismi from Real Oviedo, and Julen Lobete, who was at Celta Vigo, but was on loan at Andorra last season as well. So, Alex, business so far, what do you think of these 4 players who have come in?
It feels like unfinished work in my mind. Obviously I don't know what the club has planned. I don't know whether they plan to bring in more players as the window goes on. We've got the best part of a month left almost to do deals, so if they can bring in some more players, then brilliant. But I think the big thing is, for me, at this level, and I think this was the case last season, we need a goal scorer, and with Roberto leaving, obviously we had to fill that gap. We brought in Rocco, who, if he can find that sort of rhythm that he had at Racing Santander, I know he wasn't at his best the whole time he was there, but if he can find some of that rhythm when he was there, then good. But I do feel like we're missing goals a little bit. Yes, I know, we have players coming back. Like Luke said, Hightown is practically a new signing. Ramon will be hopefully back to full fitness soon. So, yeah, it feels like a good start. But for me, if I'm going to feel more confident about us, staying up and progressing, I feel like we need to make a few more signings.
Yeah, Luke, I look at these boys especially, maybe with the exception of Lobete, certainly Pastor, Rocco and Luismi, feels like replacing what we had, if that makes sense. So we lost Genaro, we lost Juan de, and we lost Roberto, all for reasons that we know. So it feels like we've just picked up people to step in there. I would say that they are, with the exception of Roberto, improvements on what we had. Luismi's a fantastic footballer, very clever footballer as well, and has done really, really well in his career. Same with Alex Pastor as well. There just seems to be that missing cutting edge for me, and how Loren is in the transfer market. We don't seem to be adding people. I don't feel like we're too much stronger from where we were last season. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
I totally agree. I've been quite surprised, really, as well. Like, I did feel like not a full squad overhaul, but we're a very, very young team. And to take that into Segunda, I know me and you were having a conversation, Nick, and we are big, big fans of the youth. However, this is a step up and a season where we really do need to consolidate. Like Alex just said then perfectly, I would love a striker. We put the Geary poll out to Geary fan base, and I think it was 74% of the fans said that we need a striker. So we are all very much thinking on the same line. We've recently been linked with Largo Jr. again, but I know we had a discussion in our chat, and I don't think we should really be revisiting that as a 34-year-old. I would love a pacey striker, whether there's one out there for us. I think we've got our heads around, we're not really willing to spend, or the money's not there. I am very impressed with the Luismi signing. I've watched him quite a few times. I even watched him in La Rosaleda, and he is a real unit in the centre midfield. Like, we knew that Genaro was a bit of a dog. He'd work around. Luismi is the cute footballer as well as the workhorse. And I was sold on Julen Lobete after a 4-minute YouTube clip earlier, and now I think he's absolutely fantastic, and he's going to win this league.
Yeah, he seems to be very much a driver, doesn't he? And young as well. I think that's something that Loren was very proud of last season, and Kike Perez and Sergio Pérez there, as well as that. Malaga managed to achieve promotion with probably one of the youngest sides in the league. And I think certainly Lobete adds to that. The fact he's here on a full-time contract as well is, really interesting, because it feeds into that model of let's bring them through, and if they get really good, we can sell them on and make some cash, like we've done with Roberto, like we've done with Andres Caro, for example. So it's in the mold. I think, like I say, Alex, the thing we're missing is that firepower. But also, when we look at some of the players that have left, your Canaro, your Juandes, your Robertos, your Ferreros. There's a lot of leadership missing out of this squad at the minute. That's the one thing that concerns me. You've got your Melinas in there maybe, but he was always a bit on the quieter side. You've got your Nelson Montes, your Ainars maybe, but none of them absolutely screamed leader. The only one leader I could name you on that pitch right now is the Don, Alfonso Herrero.
Yeah, the Don.
So again, we've got to be in the market looking for that. Recently, as I think of today, Eldez Marque have linked us with Sergio Leon, who I think was at Eibar last season.
He's just gone, Nick. He's
He
just signed for Huesca.
Well, there we go. Then that's all going out the window then. So Huesca it is for him. Luke, you mentioned about bringing Lago Jr. back. He was kind of like a leader. Ramani is being linked back. Alex, would you like to see him back at La Rosaleda?
I think this has been something that we've done in recent years, where we've signed players that we've had before, and on his day, yes, Romani I think was a good player. I feel like in those positions though, we generally are quite covered. If Haitam can stay fit, if Kevin can stay fit, I think yes, we lost David Ferrero. We had probably. In terms of if we were rating, the players that we've lost so far in this window, I feel like, like you said, we've replaced them. Roberto's left. We brought in Rocco. Ferrero's left. We probably are okay in that position. I do feel like it would be a good addition, but I think we need to be looking for, and this obviously is difficult when you're not in a financial position to spend money. Malaga don't have that luxury, but I feel like there are players available in that market that have experience at this level that we could sign that could bring us the goals. And I know this may be the fan inside me speaking, but I want to see a name.
Yeah.
When I see these players, yes, I'm excited about the signings of Lobete, Pastor. I think Luis Mi Sanchez is probably you could class him as a name, but there are players out there to be had, whether that be on loan or whether that be a free signing that we know have produced at this level. And I feel like, you also look at some of the players we've been linked with. Godoy, who was at Tarragona last season, he's gone to Eldense. Alfon, who was at Celta Fortuna. These players that we know we've seen do well and we've seen them perform, it feels like we could be, I don't know, I want to see a bit more intent from Malaga in the transfer window.
You've got to think, Alex and Nick, a couple of seasons ago when we did sign Ruben Castro, granted he was 39 years old, but his history in the name, it maybe didn't fully work out, but the confidence that gave us knowing that we've got a name who the rest of the league's going to respect. Like Alex just said, I do think that we are just missing that one little name.
Yeah, and I think with Malaga's transfer policy as well, I can't claim to know what it is. It seems very scattergun at times, but it seems to be working with Loren in charge. But we're seeing more and more of teams at this level going out to more foreign nations, looking at teams like in the UK, in the Netherlands and Germany and places like that. We never seem to shop internationally. Now, if you want to sell the project to somebody and say, do you fancy coming and playing for Malaga, a top, maybe Championship striker or an aging Premier League striker, for example, that kind of market we're looking at. We've just seen Ollie McBurney go to Las Palmas, for example. You could easily sell that to a player to come for the project who will come and experience it, who's played at a higher level and do things like that. Or the other side, as Alex was mentioning as well, with players like Godoy and Alfon. Let's look at players that we've seen in Primera. That's a fresh patch of grass for us, which no one else seems to be shopping in. And we've come up against players who we've seen play and gone, right, well, if they were in our team, they'd be firing. They'd be great. But at the minute they're playing for an Antiquero or if they're playing for a Linares. So, I don't understand why we're not doing that. We've experienced it. So I don't understand why we can't lift them up into our league as well. So it'll be interesting, but we've definitely got some more shopping to do. Now, there is one great thing about being back in Segunda as well. So we're also going to talk about how we think the Segunda is going to play out this season in the second half of this podcast. But last season, we did miss a certain Alex Fitzpatrick, who used to provide us with lovely little clips, and he's back again this season to talk us through all of our opponents, give us a bit of an insight into the players, the managers, alongside some guests as well. But he's also sent us a fantastic little voice clip just to welcome him back, Alex Fitzpatrick from the Spanish Segunda show.
The La Liga Hypermotion 24-25 season is almost upon us, and it promises to be one of the best in recent memory, one of the strongest in recent memory, with giants such as Deportivo La Coruña and, of course, Malaga coming back to the division. As ever, the three teams that are relegated from La Liga, and increasingly so, have the financial prowess over the rest. And of course, the squad, if they can maintain them, it looks as if Almeria, with their riches, will probably be able to maintain more of the players that they had in La Liga than the other sides, so they look to be strong favourites at the moment. The other teams that were up at the top end of the division last season, the losing playoff teams such as Eibar, such as Sporting, and of course Racing just missed out on the final day, and Oviedo losing in the final. Those teams probably will be strong again, although Racing have lost Peque, which is a big loss to them in their attack. But the other sides look as if they will probably be strong again. There are numerous manager changes across the division. We talk about all of those managerial changes and every single club, including Malaga, in detail on our pre-season previews. Down at the bottom of the table, a couple of teams that are looking pretty weak in terms of acquisitions at this point, but still a few weeks to go until that window slams shut. So really quite difficult to predict where anyone will be. Mirandés, though, currently only with 9 outfield players in their squad, having a real recruitment crisis this summer, and as a result, you've got to have them as favourites to go down. What about Malaga? Of course, it's a Malaga podcast, so I probably should give my thoughts on them. Of course, as I said, we do talk about them at length in our season preview show, but my thoughts on Malaga are, well, you know, it was solid last season without being spectacular in the promotion. And in my opinion, the two best players for you were Roberto and, of course, your goalkeeper. And Roberto has gone. So your top scorer has gone, and that is a huge hole to fill. Rocco Batarina, who's joined, he was at not owned by Racing, but he was on loan at Racing last season, and he's joined. Is a decent striker. He's a sort of mid-table striker at this level, I think. Very capable. But I am concerned about the strength in depth in those attacking areas. One of the acquisitions that I really like that you've made is Luismi in central midfield from Real Oviedo. A terrific player, a holding midfielder, an absolute battle axe of a player. He's going to probably pick up a yellow card, but he's going to win and recover a lot of balls for you and get them to the players that can do a little bit more in midfield. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he fits in at Malaga. Currently, I think Malaga probably a couple of players short, and as a result, I'm not sure they'll challenge in the top half of the season as the season goes on. But I do think at this stage that you'll have enough to stay in the division, and I'm sure that you would all be happy with that. As I said, you can hear much more from the Spanish Segunda show, a very extensive preview of the entire league. We talk about all 22 teams. I would be very surprised if we weren't talking about Malaga week in, week out as well. So if you want an independent view on Malaga, then come and give us a listen. Of course, the Giriacast is the place to be for all things Malaga as well. They are the experts on Malaga, and obviously we cover the entire league. So come and check us out, and we look forward to you joining us as the season goes on.
The experts. Well, never been called an expert before.
Now we know that we're back, don't we? Now we know that we're back. We've got Alex Fitzpatrick on.
Exactly. We're pulling out the big guns now that we're back. Well, thank you to Alex for that one. And like I say, Alex is going to send us a review of each opposition team we face every single week. So ahead of the preview shows, not only we're looking to get opposition fans on to give their point of view, but we'll also have Alex with a bit of insight on, obviously he gets to watch the whole league basically and his podcast. So very helpful sometimes, because I think last season, as much as we tried our best with Primera, I'd never heard of Atletico San Eugenio before, so this could be quite good. So just to sort of keep up with the spirit of that in terms of the season preview, we've obviously spoken about Malaga and what we're looking for in the transfer market. In terms of Segunda, guys, this is going to be one of the best Segundas you'll ever see. First of all, you've got some massive clubs in there. Alex just alluded to it. Malaga, Deportivo La Coruña, Real Zaragoza, Real Oviedo, big hitters. Also, no B teams. Fucking getting no B teams. Absolutely beautiful no B teams. So absolutely no damp squib games where you're playing kids for no reason. Alex, I suppose, you're in Spain at the moment. Is there much buzz around the Segunda season where you are, or is it still, second fiddle to the likes of Real Madrid?
Come on, Nick, he lives in Madrid. Come on, he lives in Madrid. There's only one, you know that.
I don't think if you tried, Nick, you could pick a worse place to be for Segunda football. There are no Segunda teams in Madrid, and we've got one of the biggest team in the world and one of the biggest teams in the world in Madrid. So, yeah.
I agree. Real Vallecano is the biggest team in the world. Yes, I very much agree with you there.
And obviously with now Alcorcon being in Primera, there's no, the nearest team to Madrid is Real Zaragoza. So it's scarce, the Segunda action where I am. But obviously I'm excited. I think, you do often find being in Madrid, you ask people who they support, it's Real Madrid, it's Atletico Madrid. So there's fewer people who are supporting your local teams in Madrid, but I do still feel like there's an excitement to Segunda. It's that feeling, I guess, similar to the Championship when you have teams like Nottingham Forest, Leeds United, Derby County, who, these big teams, when we've had championships in the past where those big teams have been in there, I know for one, I love football, so I've been excited to see those games. So I think it's the same in that way. And having watched La Liga quite extensively last year, I'm looking forward to seeing Almeria, Cádiz, and Granada. I think they're, some very good quality teams. And yeah, there's some teams in there that have, been trying to go up. Eibar, as Alex said, they've been there or thereabouts for a while. We've got some teams who, we haven't seen much of before. Eldense, I think, other than the Copa del Rey tie last year, not many Malaga fans would have known much about Eldense. So, yeah, it's an exciting league, and I'm looking forward to where we go. And I do feel like it's quite an open game, an open season. There are teams that I think, we'll talk about this later, but I do feel like anyone can surprise anyone, really. I think that's what we love about Segunda.
I think that's absolutely it. You've hit the nail on the head. I think anyone in this league can surprise anybody. And you can see that with some of the transfer dealings that are happening, Luke. In terms of, like I was sort of alluding to before, these are all proper teams. This is probably as close to, like you say, the Championship in Spain than you've probably ever got before. You've got teams that have, I think it's something like 9 or 10 of the teams that are in the league have been in La Liga before. You've got some, massive fan bases in there, iconic stadiums, some stadiums which will use for the 2030 World Cup as well. So, there's plenty going on, isn't there? And a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, it's just great to be back within the Segunda community as well. I mean, there's a lot going off on socials, a lot of geary fans from other clubs, etc. And you're seeing people, like you've just said, they're saying that this is the greatest in terms of club stature, the greatest Segunda there's ever been, the size of the clubs, etc. And it's a good feeling to know that they are saying this with Malaga in there, just to reinstate that we still are a big club and other fans do still respect the club. Just really excited for it. Really excited. Every week, there's not many fixtures where you think, oh, it's a drub game. It's going to be so tough. It's going to be a real tough season for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And before we get on to sort of some predictions around the league, not to foreshadow too much, I asked you guys sort of pick 3 players that you're excited to see at this level. So I don't know if you want to do all three in one go or you want to take it in turns. How are you feeling?
Probably three in. I'll give you my 3 in 1 go.
3 in 1 go from Luke
Not
first.
too
Go for
exciting,
it.
I think. Basically, as Alec mentioned, Almeria have held on to a lot of players. I've been a big fan of this player for years. Largi Ramazani from Almeria, a very pacey Belgium 23-year-old winger. Didn't have the best season in La Liga, but come on, guys, I don't think any Almeria player did. But he on his day can be the best player in this league, and I hope he isn't going to do that in Rosaleda against us. Secondly, I've gone for a very, very romantic one. Former Malaga player and one of the most influential midfielders I've ever seen play in both La Liga and the Premier League. It's none other than Santi Cazorla. He's now 39 years old. He played 24 games last season. So I hope we get to see him. I'd love to see him in La Rosaleda in October when we play Real Oviedo. And the third player I've gone for is definitely not a romantic one, but he now plays for Cadiz. He's Javier Ontiveros, known to many Malaguistas as La Rata. So it's always fun for Malaga fans when we get to play against Ontiveros. He's just signed for Cadiz, like I say, under Paco Lopez, and he is actually he's a good player. But I'm excited to hear the booing, the La Rata, as Alex knows better than anybody, as he was at Pomp, was it, Al?
It was Fuenlabrada. Me and Matt went to, and it was actually Sergio Pellicer also in the opposition dugout.
Ooh.
And it was, I don't think for the large majority of the 90 minutes, I don't think there were many other chants than aimed towards Ontiveros calling him a rat.
So as you can see, Nick, there are 3 very different reasons for these players.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same about man. The Ontiveros one is going to be quite interesting, actually. He was linked with Coventry, like as recently as April. So, it's but he seems to have landed on his feet a little bit with Cadiz. Obviously, means he can live back in Andalusia as well. So, maybe a bonus for him. I'm going with kind of similar, but I'm going for 2 from Granada and 1 from Almeria. The first one is a new signing, Trigueros, who's just signed for Granada from Villarreal. This is a lad who was, if I remember rightly, my math in, was it 2021 when Villarreal won the Europa League?
Yep.
So like I say, you've got a player who was literally winning European competitions, less than 3 years ago. So he's going to be a good addition. Obviously, 32 years old now. But I think what he brings, not just in caliber, he also brings in leadership. And obviously, Jose Callejon has gone down to Marbella. So they need to replace that experience. They need to, as I've kind of focused on before, those leaders. He's definitely going to do that for them. Arribas, I think another player just alongside Rasmani. There was, not much Almeria could do last season, but he really stood out for me. Played over 30 games, still very, very young. Ex-Castilla, I think he was, but scoring 9 goals from midfield. I think he was their second top goal scorer or top goal scorer last season. I don't think he'll stay. I think he'll be one of the ones that Almeria probably sell on and make some money on. But if he does stay in Segunda, he'll definitely be one of the headlines for it. And then my third one is a fun one. A few years ago, we had a young Canadian lad arrive on loan at Blackpool from Wolves called Theo Corbeanu. And I've not kept my eye on his career. I think he went off to Belgium on loan after he left Blackpool. Didn't rip up trees, got sent back in January type thing. He's now at Granada, playing quite regularly. So I look forward to seeing the next Blackpool loanee at La Rosaleda again this season in this young Canadian lad. So hopefully he doesn't notch, because that would really piss me off.
How's he ended up at Granada after failing at Blackpool?
I don't know. Some of us like to fail upwards, Luke. that's exactly how we work. But yeah. And Alex, what about yourself? Who are you excited to see?
This was a tough one, actually. Excitement was, it maybe doesn't jump out when I say a couple of these, but I think it's more sort of interesting to see where they go. One of them, the first one, and this is something that I know you've talked about a lot when it comes to B teams, about how you would much rather see a player jump ship's the wrong word, but push themselves out there, go and try and play professional football and see where they can go. And that certain someone is Theo Zidane. He's left Real Madrid Castilla, gone to Cordoba, and I'm sort of really excited to see what happens there, because we all know his family prowess and how good the footballing name of Zidane is, but obviously Theo, Luca, and then there's another brother whose first name I forget off the top of my head. But yeah, Theo, having watched him quite a bit last season, I'm excited to see what he can do with Cordoba, and obviously he's left that Real Madrid, he's left the umbrella of Real Madrid and all their B teams and youth teams. So I think it's exciting for him, not more than for everyone else, to see if he can make his own way in the world. And yeah, I hope he does well. There's obviously a quality player in there, but I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes with Cordoba.
I think Luca has just moved on from Eibar as well, hasn't he? He's gone to Granada, if I remember rightly, for money as well. So again, the Zidanes are representing in Segunda next season. So yeah, no, I agree with that, and that's a big thing about, like I mentioned with Arribas, if you go and get your opportunity, you can become a superstar in your own right. I think sometimes you just need to get off the tit of these B teams and get out there. You know what I mean?
The thing is, it's something Malaga don't ever seem to visit, and we all know the merry-go-round of Castilla, Barça Bay. I'm not being funny, Celta Fortuna. We've all said the amount of players we would have loved to have taken from them. Surely they're either available, whether it's loan or a contract termination. But yeah, couldn't agree more with that one, Alex.
The second player I'm looking forward to seeing is one that we know well, actually. Played for Atlético Sanluqueño last year, a certain Francisco Mwepu. He scored 9 goals in 34 games last season. He's back at his parent club, Cádiz. They're obviously down in Segunda. Hopefully, he's sticking around and is part of Cádiz's plans. But, I think from what I remember seeing against Atlético Sanluqueño, he was a good player. He was one of the standout wingers. He was quick. He was, big. He could score. He was physical, and yeah, I think he's only 24. So if he can play his cards right and get himself in that Cádiz team, I think we could see a La Liga team come along for him, because I was quite impressed with him last season at Atlético Sanluqueño. And the third one, and this was a tough one. So obviously I mentioned Alan Godoy, who's gone to Eldense. Another one is a former Malaguista, Kady Barre, signed for Real Zaragoza. I, for one, I'm sure you lads are probably the same, was kind of hoping that he might come back down to the South Coast and sign for Malaga. I do remember him being, one of our best players. He joined Espanyol, and I know there's a quality player in there. I'm really excited to see how he does with Zaragoza, and I think they've got a really good player on their hands and a top quality midfielder.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, that, because we've been linked back around with so many former players. He was kind of the one that didn't really get mentioned, especially considering we were in the market for a midfield replacement, essentially. So it would have been interesting if that one would have come off. So yeah, and I suppose we'll put the question out on social media after this. Who are you guys excited to see in this league? There's such a plethora of players to pick from, and whether they're senior heads with experience in La Liga or former internationals, it's the caliber that you get. We're not all just focusing on Jonathan Biabiani, who, if you haven't seen, signed for Antequera.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Which is fun, isn't it? So yeah, let us know on social media who you're looking forward to seeing. So we'll move into sort of like the prediction side of things now. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm about to show up a very fancy graphic. So we're going to disappear and be replaced by, ta-da, a fancy graphic. Now, what we've got here in front of us is just a breakdown of who we think is going to be champions, who we think is going to make the playoffs, where Malaga are going to finish, and also the relegation places as well. So I suppose I'll start with Luke. You're on the far right-hand side, not to be confused. Far right-hand side of the screen, I may add.
I say, come on, Nick.
Yeah, we're in the wrong time for mentioning far right. You're on the far right of the screen, or you're on the right of the screen.
You're digging a hole, Nick.
There's going to be riots in Ellswick in a minute. Anywho, Luke, you've gone for, just so people at home can understand this as well, you've gone for Cadiz to win the league. And in the playoffs, Almeria, Eibar, Granada, Castellón, and Levante. Just focusing on that top six first. What's your thought process around that? Why that?
I've basically put the 3 relegated teams in there because of they've kept a lot of their players. They've kept a lot of strength. They've obviously got the financial backing of what the La Liga teams recently had. Besides that, Eibar's been the bridesmaid for a couple of years, losing in play. Is it 3 times they've lost in the playoffs now?
Yeah.
Castellón, maybe the surprise package to a few people. Castellón, I just think there's such a well-structured club who are, if they continue how they're doing, they are definitely on the way up. Whereas ourselves, and I mean, Cordoba's got a good team, but whereas ourselves, it might be a bit too quick to jump towards the playoffs. But I just think Castellón, especially with Dick Schroeder as the manager as well, I do very much believe that they will be challenging. My last team in the playoffs were Levante. So Levante, obviously a big club. I think they're just getting back on their feet after a lot of financial difficulty. But even when you look at their squad, the experience, what's in that squad, and I do think that in Segunda experience is key for a lot of teams.
Absolutely. And now, Alex, you've gone for the bridesmaid becoming the bride in this one. You've gone for Eibar taking the crown, Almeria and Cadiz in second. So 2 of those relegated sides in there. Real Oviedo, who obviously made the playoff final this summer, followed by Racing de Santander and Granada. So why Eibar? Do you think Eibar can push on, even though they seem to be hemorrhaging players at the minute?
Yeah, I think, they've come close, as we've talked about. I think they've got they've got some work to do, but I feel like the experience that you have coming that close, it's almost like Castellón in Primera. They came so close the season before last and just lost out in the final stages, and they tore the league apart, barring that last couple of months where Cordoba almost caught them. And I feel like they'll have that frustration and that motivation to use that. Partly also why I didn't go for an Almeria or Cadiz is I always feel like there's a lot of pressure on those relegated teams to jump straight back up. And, I think they'll get playoffs and, I just have Almeria going up as the second automatic spot. But I think, I think it will be a case of, Eibar will have that experience in and around the playoff push. And I think they can go one step further. And then obviously Granada, to be honest, originally I was going to have Granada outside the playoffs, but I sort of had to think about it and think maybe they can make a late push for it. But in terms of the team going up in the playoffs, I do think it is probably between Cadiz and Real Oviedo. I think they're the 2 sort of strong ones. Obviously, Real Oviedo losing out to Espanyol in the final last year. So, it's a star-studded top 6. And we talked about.
I want some explanation around Racing Santander, to be fair, Alex, because that is like, don't get me wrong, I've put some weird ones in my top 6, as I'll come on to a minute, but Racing Santander, I know under Jose Alberto Lopez, they were close last season, sort of like just missed out, but they weren't really, with a few games to go, basically. Have they strengthened that much to be able to convince you that they're going to crack that top 6 this season?
It might also be a case of seeing Andy Wooding's Twitter and believing the hype. I know you've been very excited about all of, seeing the journey of, almost getting promoted last year. And I think that, they came close. They brought in quite a few players. They've actually spent close to 3.5 million on players or 2 players. Wow. And, they've brought in quite a few free transfers. They've got rid of players that, maybe weren't suiting them, with maybe a bit of dead wood. And I feel like coming close last season, yes, they lost out, but I feel like they can use that similar to Eibar. They can use that as motivation to push on and get that one step further.
Yeah, no, fair enough. That makes sense to me. I'll quickly just fire through mine. So I've gone for Cadiz to go up or up top. I've then also got Deportivo to go up with them. I think that's a big shout, but I believe I've then got Granada, Almeria, Real Oviedo, and Castellón. So again, similar teams that we've all mentioned. So For me, Cadiz winning the league. Paco Lopez knows how to get out this league. Cadiz, as we both mentioned, have managed to keep the core of their squad. So I don't think they'll be too worried about losing too many games. I just think with both Deportivo and Castellón, momentum is with them. And we saw in this league, especially at the start of last season, what Racing de Ferrol did, in terms of being up there all season, fresh out of Primera, and then just sort of to tail away the second half of the season. But I think both of those clubs have got the structure and the quality to be able to push on. And Deportivo, especially being quite smart in the transfer market at the minute. They've just brought in Mfulu from Las Palmas, who was a key player in getting them promoted a couple of years back. Again, they're managing to keep a lot of what they got promoted with. And as you were saying before, Luke, momentum is an important thing. And if you've got that confidence and you've got that ability, Deportivo are a club that could quite easily bounce through this league and straight into La Liga at a drop of a hat, if I'm being perfectly honest. And
do you think the Depor fan base have got a say in that as well, Nick? Obviously, very, very well supported club up there with a season ticket as well, but it's going to be so hard going to Riazor.
Yeah, well, like I say, it's a difficult place to go to anyway. It's got the backing, and it's got that feel-good factor like we've got as well. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are so buzzing to see them back in the league, not just in La Coruña, but in Spain in general. So I think they'll definitely be there or thereabouts. Clip that for the end of the season when they get relegated again. But, I am feeling confident. I'll jump over the Malaga thing just quickly. Let's just rush through our relegation thoughts. So we're pretty much all on the same page here. So we've all put Mirandes in one position or another. Alex and Luke, you've put Cartagena. We've all put El Dense, and me and Alex have put Albacete. So I suppose the one I'll ask you about, Luke, is Racing de Ferrol. You've put them finishing 19th.
The only reason is, again, like we've all agreed on, this season is going to be very, very tough. And when you do look through the teams, it is very hard to pick somebody. But maybe, Racing de Ferrol are not a huge team. Maybe the second season syndrome might just kick in a little bit, but I'm not saying that this is a dead set or anything. They had a great season last season, or they had a great 75% of the season, and there's no reason why they can't do that. But I just think maybe the second season syndrome might pop in a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's more than enough. I put Huesca down there as kind of like the only difference to you guys. I just think they're running out of luck. I think season on season, they seem to be plummeting and dropping positions and never really replacing players of quality. We've just spoke about Sergio Leon, who, he's a good player, but as you mentioned earlier, he's 35 years old. So it's never replenishing the bloodline that much. So I think they'll really struggle this year. They finished just above the relegation zones last time. And Alex, the one I want to ask you about is Cartagena, because you've been there, you've seen the club, you've got a little bit of affinity to it. They've obviously sold on even Calero. So is it purely because they've sold on Calero you want them fucked off?
No. No, I think you look at them last season. They were I think I remember looking at the Segunda table around November last year, and they were sort of near the bottom. And I was thinking, this is quite worrying, but they obviously managed to push up. They finished 14th. But similar to Huesca in that way, last couple of seasons, they did well the season before when Malaga got relegated. But I think I've always seen them, whether it be they've had their good spells, but I've always seen them maybe struggle a little bit in periods, and I feel like sometimes that does catch up with teams. And I have a hunch. It's one of those feelings you get where, last season they just escaped, similar with Malaga in a way that, we came close quite a few times and then, we did get relegated. And I feel like this might be the same with Cartagena. They came close last year. They got out of it. They finished 14th. They finished well. But sometimes that nerve of, what happens if it happens again, it can take over.
Just looking at those teams, guys, what we have all put in our relegation, would you be wanting 12 points at Rosaleda against these four teams?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mirandes definitely. El Dense, I feel like is one of those teams that I could see finishing in the mid-table, so I'm not too worried. Cartagena as well, at least 3. obviously if you think about home and away, I'd be happy with the draw away. But I feel like Albacete as well is a team that's always been in and around that relegation zone. They've had their moments in the playoffs, but it feels like they haven't got enough to stay up this season. So yeah, I think there's definitely some points to be won in those four.
Yeah, I think with most of them as well, they've kind of rid their luck a little bit now. Mirandes as well, I'd throw into that category. Definitely this idea of recruiting as many loan players as possible at the last minute. It's got to blow up in their face eventually. So then just to finish with our positions. So we've all gone for different positions, and I didn't tell you I'd asked you all this. So maybe to start from the bottom up, Luke, you've gone with Malaga finishing 17th, just 2 places above the relegation zone. I think at the start of the season, we'd all agree we'd take that right now. But do you think Malaga aren't going to compete that well this season? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a season of struggle? That would suggest to me that there's not many wins on the card.
I'll be honest, I think anywhere above the relegation zone in this first season is the main key. The key to consolidate, and then, like we mentioned before, the following season, hopefully, then take our progression. But this season, it's vital that we don't go down. In terms of the 17th place, again, I think it's just down to the actual strength of this league. Every team in this league is going to struggle traveling away from home. And we know that we had a couple of issues last season in La Rosaleda. This season, it's absolute pivotal that we make that our fortress once again. There's some big teams coming to Malaga. There's some big derby games coming to Malaga. But yeah, it was a head over heart kind of matter. And I thought I was the Malaga cheerleader. I did not expect your twos compared to mine. Especially Alex's. I thought Alex was going to put Malaga in red.
I did think that as well when Alex said 13th, and he did caveat it with saying that's with very much with rose tinted glasses. Are you sticking with that? Malaga in 13th? Is that middle of the pack?
I am. I'm quietly confident that we'll be okay. I think Luke said this before about we consolidate this season, push on next season, and I think we shouldn't have high expectations. Dare I say it, if we win 2 of the first 3 games, Matt will mention the P word and we'll be getting excited and we'll get out. And so, yeah, I feel like as long as we can just the only thing I ask, if I can make a request to the football gods, is no relegation battle. I don't care if we are boring as hell, middle of the road, just no stress of relegation, please.
No stress of relegation. Now, I am 100% getting fucking pelters for this online when I put this picture up later. But I am going for a Malaga top 10 finish because I back the boys. I reckon we've got it in as fucking surprise packages. Rocco scoring 20. Fucking Kevin is banging in hat-tricks every week now we're in there. But no, I'm only joking. But genuinely, I think we have got the ability to be sort of that best of the rest type thing. I've looked at the teams that I expect to be in and around us. And I think we've just got enough to be able to sort of like go, well, yeah, we can beat everyone below us, if that makes sense. We can get on top of these guys and we can finish in a top 10. I think the gap between the playoffs, unlike last season in Segunda. So Segunda, I think there was something ridiculous, like only 25, 30 points between relegation and the playoffs. I think this season that chasm's going to grow massively. I think you've got too many big clubs up there that are coming down with good cash, good teams coming up that have got momentum, which means the top 6 will just run away, in my opinion. So for me, being the best of the rest is absolutely fine. And a top 10 finish in your first season back in Segunda, I would give you my right arm for that.
We would all die for that.
We would absolutely all die for that. So again, I'll put this picture up on social media. Let us know what you think. Where is everybody going to finish? Where are Malaga going to finish? Where are Castellón, Depor, Cordoba, whatever you think? Let us know on social media. So I think that's nicely rounded everything up for us. I suppose the last question I can ask you boys is, as I've kind of alluded to, how excited are you to get the ball rolling in Racing de Ferrol on the 17th of August? I had to count in my head then.
I was very, very, very excited before this podcast. And now we're back.
Now we're back.
Now we're back. We've got these. I've only stupidly been not to notice. We've got the Segunda badges on the shirts. We're ready to go, boys. We are ready to go. Maybe not yours, Nick. Yours might have La Liga on.
I
Yours might have La Liga.
don't know. I don't know
Alex has got the tattoo on his arm.
It's on the bicep, so he's ready to go as well. He's got the promotion picture. He's got the bus on the back of his back. But yeah, no, it's football. We said at the start of the podcast, football is back. It's fantastic to be back in Segunda. We're going to be having live streams as usual, so make sure you come along to them. Even though you can watch it for free on La Liga TV or whatever. No one knows how you're going to be able to watch it actually, because the club La Liga announced it was going to be on YouTube for free about 3 days ago, and then they said, "Oh no, actually, no, that was an error. We didn't mean to put that out there in an official press release that we sent into the world. It's not free on YouTube." So everyone was like, "For fuck's sake!" But however it is going to be watched, the fun part of it is watching it with us. So do join us for live streams and things like that. Just to plug a couple of extra things as well. Mr. Matt Harrison is currently en route, taking the long way around to Ferrol. Currently in Leon at the moment, but he will be going to that away game, and he's doing us a very special Vamos episode for that, and his route from Portugal to Ferrol. So keep your eyes peeled for that. You may have noticed recently we had our first episode of Giri Stories. So Giri Stories is a new element of the podcast where we talk more about general football in Spain with a bit of a twist, focusing on sort of like the famous Giris that have been here, or anything we basically want to talk about Spanish football. So that's always a good little listen as well. Guys, have you got anything to plug? Any secret projects? Any plans? Any announcements?
No, I think
Alex's life's a little bit more exciting than mine, so maybe Alex.
Yes,
yeah. You'll see it on my Instagram. You'll see it on my Instagram.
We'll see it on his Instagram. And as for the people that are following us, thanks very much for your support over summer. It's always great to be able to engage with you guys. It's always fun to talk transfers and thoughts and processes, and it's been brilliant seeing how excited you guys are at home as well. So I suppose we can only look forward to next week. We'll have a preview show out just before the Ferrol game. We will also have another Giri Stories out in the end of August, so keep your eyes peeled for that too. But for now, thank you very much, Luke Chambers.
Thank you very much, mate. Absolute pleasure to be back. And it's been a while since we said this, but Vamos Malaga.
Vamos Malaga. And thank you very much, Alex Ashmore.
Thank you very much, Nick. And yes, Vamos Malaga. Here's to 3 points against Racing de Ferrol.
Absolutely perfect. And thank you once again for you guys listening at home or watching on YouTube, however you like to take this podcast in. You've been listening to the Giri Cast on the Sports Social Podcast Network. We'll see you soon. Adios. Vamos Malaga.